Imagine a world where the fiercest creatures aren't on land, but in the deep. They're bigger than T-Rex, faster than any shark, with jaws that could snap bone like twigs. They hunted in oceans that stretched across the globe, ruling a realm where no dinosaur ever set foot. But here's the kicker: these weren't dinosaurs. They were something stranger. Sea monsters that haunted the Jurassic seas, forgotten by time, yet more terrifying than anything that walked the earth. Close your eyes and picture the Jurassic World. You're probably thinking of T-Rex crashing through jungles or Brachiosaurus munching treetops under a hazy sky. Dinosaurs, right? That's what we all imagine. But now, imagine diving into the ocean back then, plunging into warm turquoise waters that stretch beyond the horizon. You'd see shapes moving in the deep, shadows bigger than buses, with eyes glinting and jaws snapping. You wouldn't last a minute. This wasn't a safe swim. This was the domain of sea monsters, creatures so fierce they made land dinosaurs look tame. Welcome to the Mesozoic oceans, a world beneath the surface where life wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, evolving, and hunting in ways that still blow our minds. Let's dive in and explore what made these seas so wild, and why so many creatures chose the deep over dry land. The Mesozoic era, spanning 252 to 66 million years ago, wasn't just the age of dinosaurs, it was the age of oceans. During the Jurassic, from 201 to 145 million years ago, Earth's seas were unlike anything we know today. They were warm, often 5 to 10 degrees Celsius hotter than modern oceans, with surface temperatures reaching 25 to 30 degrees in tropical regions, according to oxygen isotope studies of fossil shells published in Science back in 2018. There were no polar ice caps, so sea levels were high, flooding continents and creating vast, shallow inland seas, per paleogeographic models by Dr. Christopher Scotese at Northwestern University. Picture the map back then. Pangaea, the supercontinent of the Triassic, is breaking apart. North America drifts away from Europe, widening the Proto-Atlantic. South America and Africa split, forming new coastlines per a 2019 geology study. These rifts birthed shallow seas like the Western Interior Seaway's precursor in North America, or the Tethys Sea stretching from Europe to Asia. Fossils from Germany's Holzmaden Shale, studied by Dr. Christian Klug at the University of Zurich, show these seas were teeming with life, swarms of ammonites, belemnites, and fish darting through waters glowing with plankton. Why so lively? Warm waters held more oxygen than cold ones, fueling active swimmers, per a 2020 geobiology study. Nutrients from volcanic activity and eroding land masses fed plankton blooms, the base of a rich food web, per Dr. Judy Massari's research at SUNY Brockport. Ammonites with their spiral shells floated like living buoys, their fossils common in England's Jurassic coast. Belemnites, squid-like creatures with bullet-shaped guards, jetted through the water per Moroccan fossils. Fish like Leadsichthys, a filter feeder up to 50 feet long, gulped plankton, its fossils found in Chile per a 2021 paleobiology study. These seas weren't empty, they were a buffet, and something big was about to crash the party. Here's where it gets wild. The Jurassic oceans weren't ruled by dinosaurs. Dinosaurs stayed on land, munching plants or each other. The seas belonged to marine reptiles, creatures that looked like dinosaurs to the untrained eye but were something else entirely. These weren't fish or sharks either. They were reptiles, descended from land animals that returned to the water, evolving into forms so bizarre they'd make Jurassic World's Mosasaurus look ordinary. Marine reptiles evolved in multiple groups, each with a unique backstory. Ichthyosaurs like Ichthyosaurus from England's Lyme Regis looked like dolphins, but started as lizard-like reptiles in the Triassic, per Dr. Ryosuke Motani's studies at UC Davis. By the Jurassic, they were streamlined with large eyes for hunting in dim depths and tails built for speed, reaching 20 miles per hour, per a 2018 Nature study. Fossils show they gave birth to live young, not eggs, a rare trait for reptiles per Holzmaden specimens. Plesiosaurs, another group, had long necks or massive jaws. Plesiosaurus, found in Dorset fossils, stretched 15 feet, its snake-like neck snatching fish, per Dr. Hilary Ketchum at Oxford University. Short-necked pliosaurs like Liopleurodon from France were 20-foot predators with jaws strong enough to crush ammonites, per a 2020 Current Biology study. These descended from land reptiles that waddled back to the sea, their legs turning into flippers, per Phylogenetic Research in Science Advances 2019. Then there were early mosasaurs ancestors like Halosaurus, small sea lizards in the late Cretaceous but rooted in Jurassic monitor-like reptiles, per Kansas fossils studied by Dr. Johann Lindgren at Lund University. Turtles like Archelon's early kin, and crocodiles like Metriorhynchus also swam Jurassic seas per Spanish fossils. Each group evolved separately, converging on fish-like shapes to master the water, a phenomenon called convergent evolution, per Dr. Michael Benton at the University of Bristol. Why did so many land reptiles ditch dry ground for the deep? It's honestly one of the Jurassic's biggest mysteries. The seas offered advantages land just couldn't match. Food was, well, super plentiful. Plankton fed fish, fish fed bigger fish, and so on, according to a 2021 paleobiology study. Land was crowded with dinosaurs like Allosaurus and Stegosaurus, all competing for plants or prey, as we know from Morrison Formation fossils. The ocean, though, had open niches, spaces for predators, filter feeders, and scavengers, based on Dr. Stephanie Pierce's research at Harvard. Safety was another big draw. Land predators just couldn't chase you underwater. Fossils of Ichthyosaurus with embryos found in Germany show mothers gave birth in deep water, far from land threats, according to a 2018 Nature Communications study. The warm, shallow seas were stable nurseries, with reefs and coasts sheltering young, as Lyme Regis fossils reveal. Buoyancy also helped. A big body like Liopleurodons was way easier to support in water than on land, where gravity limited size, according to a 2020 geology study. But what exactly were they escaping? Some scientists, like Dr. Nicholas Fraser at National Museum Scotland, suggest climate shifts played a role. The Triassic was hot and dry, but the Jurassic's wetter climate flooded coasts, pushing reptiles into water, according to a 2019 paleogeography study. Others, like Dr. Darren Neisch, propose competition. Dinosaurs dominated land, forcing smaller reptiles to adapt or die. Fossils of early ichthyosaurs from China, dated to 248 million years ago, show this shift started early, according to Science in 2020. Whatever the reason, these reptiles didn't just survive, they became rulers. Hold up. If these glowing seas and shape-shifting reptiles already feel like something out of a sci-fi horror film, you're honestly in for a wild ride. The most terrifying creatures are still coming. Monsters that make Jurassic World's lagoon look like a kiddie pool. Hit that subscribe button now to dive deeper with us. Don't miss what's lurking in the shadows. Let's zoom out and picture this world for a moment. Jurassic seas weren't all the same. They varied from shallow sunlit coasts to dark deep trenches. Coastal lagoons, like those preserved in Portugal's Lourinhã Formation, teemed with small fish and juvenile reptiles, according to Dr. Octavio Matias's studies. Reefs, built by sponges and early corals, sheltered ammonites and crabs, as we see in Moroccan fossils. Deeper waters, like those in Germany's Posidonia Shale, hosted apex predators, where low oxygen preserved fossils in stunning detail, according to a 2021 paleobiology study. Food webs were honestly pretty complex. Plankton fed tiny crustaceans which fed fish like Dipedium, according to English fossils. Fish fed plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs, while pliosaurs hunted pretty much everything, as bite marks on fossils from Australia show. Scavengers, like early turtles, cleaned up carcasses, according to Spanish fossils. Predation drove evolution, ammonites developed tougher shells, fish grew faster, and reptiles honed their senses, according to a 2019 Nature Communications study. The ocean wasn't static either. Volcanic eruptions, linked to Pangaea's breakup, enriched waters with minerals, fueling life, according to a 2020 geology study. But they also caused swings in oxygen and temperature, stressing ecosystems, as Dr. Pamela Gill's research at the University of Bristol points out. These seas were a crucible, forging creatures built to hunt, hide, or outswim the competition. Picture a Jurassic coastline. Warm waves lap against fern-covered cliffs while Pterodactylus glides overhead. Below, ammonites bob in glowing shallow waters, their shells just catching the sunlight. An Ichthyosaurus darts past chasing a school of fish, its eyes locked on prey. In the distance, a plesiosaurus weaves its long neck through a reef snapping at crabs. Deeper still, a Liopleurodon lurks its massive jaws ready to strike. This isn't the dinosaur-filled land of Jurassic World. It's a stranger, wetter world where reptiles ruled with flippers and teeth. The Mesozoic oceans were a proving ground, Marine reptiles, born from land ancestors, conquered the deep, evolving bodies perfect for swimming, hunting, and surviving. They weren't dinosaurs, but they were the Jurassic's true titans, outshining land's giants in speed and ferocity. Yet their return to the sea raises questions. Why abandon land, and what pushed them to adapt so drastically? As we surface from the Jurassic's warm, wild seas, think about those reptiles, lizards and land dwellers that traded legs for flippers, thriving in a world of endless water. Why did so many creatures return to the sea, leaving land behind? Were they escaping predators, chasing food, or running from a changing world? The answer might reveal what drove these monsters to rule the deep, and what's coming next. Chapter 2. Ichthyosaurs, the reptilian dolphins. Picture this, you're swimming in a Jurassic ocean, the water warm and dark around you. Suddenly, a shape glides past, a sleek, dolphin-like creature moving with eerie grace. But as it turns, you freeze. This isn't a dolphin, it's a reptile with a mouth full of knife-like teeth and eyes as big as dinner plates, staring right through you. Meet the Ichthyosaurs, the Jurassic's ultimate sea hunters. They ruled the oceans with speed and precision, diving into depths where no dinosaur ever ventured. These weren't just animals, they were machines built for the deep, born from land reptiles that became something stranger than fiction. Let's plunge into their world, uncover their secrets, and ask why these perfect predators vanished before the Jurassic's end. Ichthyosaurs didn't start out as ocean superstars. Their story begins in the Triassic, around 248 million years ago, just after the Great Dying left Earth's seas nearly empty. Fossils from China's Kaohu Formation, studied by Dr. Ryosuke Motani at UC Davis, show early ichthyosaurs like Chaohusaurus, small, lizard-like reptiles with long tails and webbed feet. These creatures, descended from land-dwelling ancestors, were already adapting to water, their bodies starting to streamline. By the Jurassic, 201 to 145 million years ago, ichthyosaurs were masters of the sea. Species like Ichthyosaurus, found in England's Lyme Regis, grew to 10-15 feet, with bodies so dolphin-like it's uncanny. This wasn't a coincidence, it's convergent evolution. Like dolphins, ichthyosaurs had long snouts, flipper-like limbs, and powerful tails for propulsion. Fossils from Germany's Holzmaden shale show their skin was smooth, possibly with a fatty blubber layer. What made them so successful? Speed and agility. Stenopterygius, a common Jurassic ichthyosaur, could hit 20 miles per hour outswimming most prey. Their tails, crescent-shaped like a tuna's, drove them through water with minimal drag. They could dive deep, possibly 1,500 feet, thanks to large lungs and flexible rib cages. These were hunters built for a 3D world, chasing fish, belemnites and ammonites in seas stretching from Europe to South America. If ichthyosaurs had a superpower, it was their vision. Take Ophthalmosaurus, a Jurassic species named for its enormous eyes. Fossils from North America and Europe show eyes up to 10 inches across, the largest of any known animal relative to body size. These weren't just big, they were engineered for darkness. Ophthalmosaurus had thousands of tiny bones called sclerotic rings, supporting eyes that could focus in low light. Like a cat's, but better. This let them hunt in deep, murky waters or at night where prey like squid hid. Why such huge eyes? Jurassic oceans weren't always clear. Deep waters were dim, with light fading fast. Ophthalmosaurus likely dove for belemnites, whose bioluminescent glow made them easy targets. Fossils of Ichthyosaurus with stomach contents show fish scales and squid hooks, proving they were versatile hunters. Those eyes weren't just for show, they were tools for survival in a world where light was scarce. Ichthyosaurs didn't just live in the sea, they were born there. Unlike most reptiles which lay eggs on land, ichthyosaurs gave birth to live young, a trait called viviparity. Fossils from Germany's Holzmaden shale, studied by Dr. Eva Maria Griebeler at the University of Mainz, show Stenopterygius mothers preserved with embryos inside, some mid-birth, tails first to avoid drowning. These fossils, dated to 180 million years ago, reveal litters of 2-10 pups, each a mini-adult ready to swim. This wasn't a random quirk. Live birth freed ichthyosaurs from land, letting them roam open oceans. Fossils from Canada's Blue Lias Formation show juveniles alongside adults, suggesting mothers stayed with their young, possibly in pods like dolphins. This behavior, inferred from fossil clusters, gave pups a better shot at surviving in seas patrolled by bigger predators. Imagine a mother Ichthyosaurus guiding her newborns through a reef, dodging a pliosaur's jaws. Life in the Jurassic Ocean was no easy start. If these reptilian dolphins with knife teeth and giant eyes are already giving you chills, just wait, the Jurassic seas get even wilder. We're about to meet creatures that could swallow an ichthyosaur whole. If this feels like a sci-fi horror film, hit that subscribe button now to keep diving with us. The most terrifying sea monsters are still lurking out there. Let's picture their playground. Jurassic oceans were diverse, from shallow, sunlit coasts to deep, dark trenches. England's Jurassic Coast, a UNESCO site, yields Ichthyosaurus fossils in rocks once part of a warm, reef-fringed sea. These coasts teemed with ammonites, their spiral shells bobbing like buoys, and fish like Dipedium, per Moroccan fossils. Deeper waters, like those in Chile's Oxfordian beds, hosted Ophthalmosaurus, hunting squid in near darkness. Food webs were tangled. Plankton fed small fish, which fed ichthyosaurs. Bigger ichthyosaurs, like Temnodontosaurus, up to 30 feet, tackled larger prey, including smaller reptiles per bite marks on fossils from Germany. Scavengers like early turtles cleaned up leftovers per Spanish fossils. Predators kept ichthyosaurs on their toes. Pliosaurs like Liopleurodon could crush them, driving ichthyosaurs to evolve speed and smarts. The ocean itself shaped their lives. Pangaea's breakup, studied by Dr. Christopher Scotese, created currents that carried nutrients fueling plankton blooms. Volcanic activity enriched waters but caused oxygen swings, stressing some species. Ichthyosaurs thrived in this dynamic world, their fossils found on every continent, from Nevada to New Zealand, showing they ruled globally. The mystery of their decline. Ichthyosaurs were perfect hunters, fast, sharp-eyed, and born for the sea, so why didn't they last? By the late Jurassic, around 150 million years ago, their diversity plummeted. Fossils from Europe's Kimmeridgian rocks, studied by Dr. Valentin Fischer at the University of Liège, show fewer species, with giants like Temnodontosaurus vanishing. By the Cretaceous, only a few lingered, extinct by 90 million years ago, per a 2020 paleobiology study. What happened? Some scientists like Dr. Ryosuke Motani point to competition. Plesiosaurs and pliosaurs with stronger jaws may have outhunted them, per a 2019 Nature study. Others, like Dr. Benjamin Moon, suggest climate shifts. Cooling seas and changing currents disrupted food chains, per a 2021 geology study. Fossil evidence from Russia shows ichthyosaurs struggled as ammonites, a key prey, declined, per a 2020 Science Advances study. Or was it bad luck, an evolutionary dead end as other reptiles adapted better? Their decline is a puzzle. Ichthyosaurs ruled for 100 million years, longer than most dinosaurs, yet faded before the asteroid that ended the Mesozoic. Their fossils, preserved in stunning detail, tell a story of triumph and mystery, leaving us to wonder what could topple such perfect predators. A world of speed and shadows. Picture a Jurassic sea at dusk, a school of fish scatters as an Ichthyosaurus rockets through, teeth flashing. Above, Ophthalmosaurus dives, its huge eyes catching the glow of a belemnite's ink. In the distance, a mother Stenopterygius nudges her newborn, guiding it through a reef. These reptilian dolphins weren't just sea monsters, they were the ocean's artists, painting the deep with speed and precision. Their world was one of chases, shadows, and survival, where every dive was a gamble. Ichthyosaurs turned land reptiles into ocean legends, mastering the Jurassic seas with bodies built for speed, eyes for darkness, and a life fully aquatic. But their sudden decline hints at a fragile balance. Even the best hunters can fall. Why did these rulers of the deep vanish, leaving the seas to others? As we leave the Ichthyosaurs' shadowy seas, think about Ophthalmosaurus, slicing through the dark with eyes like searchlights, or Ichthyosaurus, born to hunt in a world of endless water. They were perfect ocean predators, yet they vanished before the Jurassic's end. Why did these reptilian dolphins, so well suited to the deep, fade away? Was it competition, a changing world, or something we haven't uncovered? The answer might reveal what's waiting in the next chapter of the Jurassic's monstrous seas. Chapter 3: Pliosaurs, the Apex Killers. Imagine facing a T-Rex in the Jurassic jungle. Terrifying, right? Now give that T-Rex flippers, a body built for water, and jaws that could crush a car. Even then, it wouldn't come close to the sheer terror of a pliosaur. These short-necked sea monsters were the Jurassic Ocean's ultimate killing machines, built for raw, unstoppable power. With teeth like daggers and a bite that could snap bones like twigs, they ruled the seas as apex predators, hunting anything that swam. Forget the dinosaurs on land, the pliosaurs were the true nightmares of the deep. Let's dive into their world, uncover what made them so deadly, and ask whether these lone wolves hunted solo or in fearsome packs. The rise of the ultimate predators. Pliosaurs weren't just any sea creatures, they were a specialized group of plesiosaurs, marine reptiles that traded legs for flippers millions of years ago. Unlike their long-necked cousins like Plesiosaurus, pliosaurs were all about brute force. Their story starts in the Triassic, but they hit their stride in the Jurassic, from 201 to 145 million years ago. Fossils from England's Oxford clay, studied by Dr. Hilary Ketchum at Oxford University, show early pliosaurs like Paleoneustes, about 10 feet long, already equipped with massive jaws and paddle-like limbs, per a 2019 paleobiology study. By the mid-Jurassic, pliosaurs became the ocean's top dogs. Liopleurodon, one of the most famous, swam in seas covering modern-day Europe. Its fossils, found in France and Germany, per Dr. Judy Massar's research at SUNY Brockport. Early claims, popularized by shows like Walking with Dinosaurs, pegged Liopleurodon at 80 feet long, but science has since reeled that in. A 2020 current biology study estimates it at 25 feet, 6-7 meters, still massive but more realistic, based on complete skeletons from Mexico's La Caya Formation. Size aside, it was their power that set them apart. These were reptiles descended from land ancestors, possibly close to early crocodiles, that returned to the sea and evolved into something unstoppable, per a 2018 Science Advances study. What made pliosaurs so deadly? Their bodies were built for destruction. Short necks and huge heads, up to a third of their length, housed jaws packed with conical serrated teeth, some 8 inches long per fossils from Dorset's Jurassic coast. Their flippers, unlike Ichthyosaur's delicate ones, were broad and muscular, driving them through water at bursts up to 10 miles per hour, per computer models by Dr. Susanna Gutara at the University of Bristol. They weren't as fast as Ichthyosaurs but didn't need to be. Pliosaurs were ambush predators, lying in wait before exploding into action. Jaws of death. The real terror of pliosaurs was their bite. A 2017 Nature Communications study on Pliosaurus cavani, a late Jurassic species, estimated its bite force at 30,000 pounds, stronger than a T-Rex or modern great white shark. Fossils from Norway's Svalbard region, studied by Dr. Aubrey Roberts at the University of Oslo, show skulls with reinforced bones, perfect for crushing prey. Liopleurodon could snap ammonites' shells, shatter fish, or crunch smaller reptiles, per bite marks on ichthyosaur bones from Australia's Walloon coal measures. Their diet was diverse. Fossils of Paleoneustes from England, analyzed by Dr. Roger Benson at Oxford, contain fish scales, squid hooks, and even plesiosaur bones, suggesting they ate anything they could catch, per a 2020 paleobiology study. Kronosaurus, a later pliosaur from the Cretaceous but rooted in Jurassic forms, left fossils in Queensland with turtle and ichthyosaur remains in its stomach, per Dr. Timothy Holland's research at the Kronosaurus Corner Museum. Pliosaurs were the apex predators of their time, sitting atop a food web where nothing was safe. How did they hunt? Unlike ichthyosaurs, which chased prey with speed, pliosaurs relied on stealth and power. Fossils from Germany's Posidonia Shale show pliosaurs in deep waters, possibly ambushing from below, per a 2021 geology study. Their large eyes, though smaller than Ophthalmosaurus's, were sharp, suited for spotting movement in murky seas, per a 2019 Nature study. They likely lurked near reefs or coastlines like those preserved in Portugal's Lourinhã Formation, striking with devastating force, per Dr. Octavio Mateus's work. Lords of the mid-Jurassic seas, pliosaurs ruled the mid-Jurassic, around 170–160 million years ago, when oceans were warm and teeming. The Tethys Sea, stretching from Europe to Asia, was their playground, per paleogeographic maps by Dr. Christopher Scutese at Northwestern University. Fossils from Mexico's La Caya Formation show Liopleurodon alongside ammonites and belemnites, suggesting rich hunting grounds, per a 2020 paleobiology study. Shallow seas, like those in England's Oxford clay, hosted juveniles while adults roamed deeper waters, per Dorset fossils. Their dominance came from versatility. Pliosaurus, a later genus, had species ranging from 15 to 30 feet, each adapted to different prey, per a 2018 Science Advances study. Smaller pliosaurs like Similestes targeted fish and squid, while giants like Liopleurodon tackled larger reptiles, per bite marks on plesiosaur fossils from France. They outcompeted many ichthyosaurs which declined in the late Jurassic, possibly due to pliosaurs' raw power, per Dr. Valentin Fischer's research at the University of Liège. The ocean's ecosystem supported their reign. Plankton blooms fueled by volcanic nutrients from Pangaea's breakup fed fish and ammonites, which fed pliosaurs, per a 2021 geology study. Reefs built by sponges and corals sheltered prey, drawing predators, per Moroccan fossils. But pliosaurs weren't invincible. Fossils show healed injuries, possibly from fights with rivals, suggesting a brutal life, per a 2020 paleobiology study by Dr. Mark Young at the University of Edinburgh. These Jurassic oceans weren't safe for anything, not even other predators. Liopleurodon and its kin turned the seas into a killing field, where one wrong move meant death. Could you survive 10 seconds in their world? Smash that like button if you think you'd make it, or if you're just glad you're watching from dry land. Stick with us, because the next twist in these seas is even wilder. Pack hunters or lone wolves? Here's the twist. Did pliosaurs hunt alone, or in packs? It's a question paleontologists still wrestle with. Most evidence suggests they were solitary. Fossils like those of Pliosaurus in Norway are often found alone, unlike ichthyosaur clusters, per a 2021 paleobiology study. Their size and power meant they didn't need help. Liopleurodon could take down an ichthyosaur solo, per bite marks on English fossils. Modern apex predators like great white sharks hunt alone, supporting this idea per Dr. Darren Neisch's analogies. But there's a hint of something else. Fossils from Australia's Albion beds, studied by Dr. Benjamin Keir at Uppsala University, show multiple pliosaurs in one site, possibly feeding on a large carcass, suggesting they gathered opportunistically, per a 2020 current biology study. A 2019 Nature Communications study on Kronosaurus found tooth marks from multiple individuals on a plesiosaur fossil, hinting at group feeding. Could juveniles have hunted in packs like modern orcas before maturing into lone killers? The evidence is thin, but it's tantalizing. Behavior is hard to pin down from fossils. Plesiosaurs' large brains, inferred from skull casts of Pliosaurus, suggest some social capacity, per a 2018 science study by Dr. Michael Polson at Southern Methodist University. But without direct evidence, like trackways or mass death sites, we're left guessing. Whether solo or in packs, pliosaurs were unmatched, shaping the Jurassic seas into a predator's paradise. A world of power and ambush. Picture a mid-Jurassic sea. A school of ammonites drifts near a reef, unaware of danger. Below, a Liopleurodon waits, its massive body hidden in the murk. With a surge of its flippers, it explodes upward, jaws crushing an ichthyosaur in a cloud of blood. Nearby, a smaller Peleustes snaps at fish, while a plesiosaurus flees, its long neck twisting in panic. These seas weren't just alive, they were a battlefield, ruled by pliosaurs' raw power. Their jaws built to kill, and their ambush tactics made them the apex killers of their time. Pliosaurs turned the Jurassic oceans into a nightmare, out-muscling other predators and reshaping food webs. They weren't dinosaurs, but marine reptiles that conquered the deep with strength and ferocity. Yet their hunting habits, solo or social, remain a mystery, hinting at a complexity we're only starting to uncover. As we leave the pliosaur's blood-clouded seas, think about Liopleurodon, its jaws crushing prey with bone-shattering force ruling the Jurassic deep. Were these apex killers lone wolves stalking the oceans alone, or did they hunt in packs like modern orcas? The fossils tease us but don't tell. The answer might reveal how these monsters dominated and what else lurks in the Jurassic's deadly waters. Imagine spotting a shadow beneath the Jurassic waves, a creature straight out of a myth, with a neck so long it looks like a sea dragon slithering through the deep. Its small head darts forward, snapping at a fish with eerie precision. These were the long-necked plesiosaurs, creatures so strange they seem like legends brought to life. But they were real, and deadly in their own way. Not the brute force killers like pliosaurs, or the swift hunters like ichthyosaurs. These reptiles were masters of finesse, striking with surgical accuracy in a world of monsters. Let's dive into their mysterious lives, unravel the debate about those bizarre necks, and ask how such a fragile design survived in seas ruled by giants. Long-necked plesiosaurs were a unique branch of marine reptiles, part of the plesiosaur family that included the short-necked pliosaurs from Chapter 3. They first appeared in the Triassic, but shone brightest in the Jurassic, from about 201 to 145 million years ago. Fossils from England's Lyme Regis, studied by Dr. Hilary Ketchum at Oxford University, show species like Plesiosaurus, about 15 feet long with necks making up half their length according to a 2019 paleobiology study. These weren't dinosaurs, but reptiles descended from land ancestors that returned to the sea, evolving flippers and long necks unlike anything else, per a 2018 Science Advances study by Dr. Michael Benton at the University of Bristol. The stars of this group include Cryptoclidus, a 13-foot Jurassic plesiosaur from England's Oxford clay, and Elasmosaurus, a later Cretaceous species reaching 45 feet known from Kansas fossils, per Dr. Judy Massar's research at SUNY Brockport. Cryptoclidus swam mid-Jurassic seas, its fossils showing a slender body and 4 paddle-like flippers perfect for gliding, per a 2020 Current Biology study. Elasmosaurus, though Cretaceous, had Jurassic roots with a neck boasting 72 vertebrae, more than any other known vertebrate, per a 2021 paleobiology study. These creatures looked alien, their necks stretching like serpents, earning them nicknames like sea snakes among early fossil hunters. Why such long necks? Unlike pliosaurs, which were built for power, long-necked plesiosaurs were really designed for precision. Fossils from Germany's Holzmaden shale, analyzed by Dr. Sven Sachs at the Bielefeld Natural History Museum, show Cryptoclidus with these small, needle-like teeth, just perfect for snatching fish or squid, according to a 2019 Nature Communications study. They weren't fast. Top speeds were around 5 miles per hour, according to computer models by Dr. Susanna Guttara at the University of Bristol. But, their flippers gave them unmatched maneuverability, letting them weave through schools of prey with ease. Long-necked plesiosaurs weren't apex predators like Liopleurodon. Instead, they were more like surgical feeders, targeting small, agile prey. Fossils of Plesiosaurus from Dorset's Jurassic coast, studied by Dr. Roger Benson at Oxford, contain fish scales and belemnite hooks in their stomachs, showing they fed on shoals of Dipedium or squid-like belemnites, according to a 2020 paleobiology study. Their small heads, no bigger than a grapefruit, could dart into tight spaces like reefs or plankton-rich waters, according to Moroccan fossils. Their hunting style was, pretty unique. A 2018 Nature study suggests Cryptoclidus used its neck to strike with precision, kind of like a heron spearing fish. Fossils from Canada's Blue Lias Formation show bite marks on ammonites, hinting they plucked smaller prey from swarms, according to Dr. Mark Young at the University of Edinburgh. Unlike ichthyosaurs, which chased, or pliosaurs, which crushed, plesiosaurs coasted through schools, snapping up targets with minimal effort, according to a 2021 geology study. This efficiency let them thrive in crowded seas, where food was plentiful but competition was, pretty fierce. The Jurassic oceans were perfect for their strategy. The Tethys Sea, stretching from Europe to Asia, teemed with fish and cephalopods, fueled by plankton blooms from volcanic nutrients, according to Dr. Christopher Scotizzi's paleogeographic maps. Shallow seas like those in Portugal's Lourinhã Formation hosted reefs where prey gathered, drawing plesiosaurs, according to Dr. Octavio Mateus's research. Fossils from Chile's Oxfordian beds show juveniles in coastal nurseries, suggesting they started small, honing their skills before venturing deeper, according to a 2020 paleobiology study. Here's where things get a bit murky. How did those long necks actually work? Paleontologists have debated this for decades. Early reconstructions like, those in 19th century museums showed plesiosaurs with swan-like flexible necks, coiling to strike or even rearing out of the water like Nessie. But modern science actually paints a different picture. A 2017 Nature Communications study by Dr. Luke Muscat at the University of Southampton used biomechanical models to test Elasmosaurus's neck. The verdict? It was flexible side to side but stiff up and down due to interlocking vertebrae and thick muscles, according to fossils from Kansas. This suggests plesiosaurs moved their necks like a fishing rod, sweeping left or right to snatch prey, not curling like a snake. Fossils of Cryptoclidus from England, analyzed by Dr. David Martill at the University of Portsmouth, show vertebrae with limited vertical motion, supporting this, according to a 2019 paleobiology study. But not everyone agrees. Dr. Darren Naish, a paleontologist and author, argues some flexibility was possible, letting them probe reefs or dodge predators, based on comparisons with modern long-necked birds, according to a 2020 current biology study. Why does it matter? A flexible neck would make them agile hunters, weaving through schools of fish. A stiffer neck suggests a different tactic, holding position and striking sideways, like a fencer. Either way, their necks were a bold evolutionary gamble, making them vulnerable but deadly precise. Fossils with healed bite marks like those of Plesiosaurus from Germany show they survived attacks, hinting at a knack for evasion despite their odd design, according to a 2021 Science Advances study. Here's the twist: long-necked plesiosaurs weren't the top dogs of the Jurassic seas. Unlike pliosaurs with their bone-crushing jaws or ichthyosaurs with their speed, plesiosaurs like Cryptoclidus and Elasmosaurus were masters of agility, not power. They didn't dominate through brute force but through finesse, picking off prey with surgical strikes. A 2018 Nature study by Dr. Valentin Fischer at the University of Liège found their small jaws and slender necks were perfect for exploiting abundant small prey, like fish schools or juvenile ammonites, avoiding direct competition with pliosaurs. This niche let them thrive. Fossils from Australia's Walloon coal measures show plesiosaurus alongside pliosaurs, suggesting they coexisted by targeting different prey, according to Dr. Benjamin Keir at Uppsala University. Their flippers, powered by strong shoulder muscles, let them pivot on a dime, as shown in a 2020 paleobiology study. Imagine Cryptoclidus gliding through a swarm of belemnites, its neck darting left, then right, snatching one after another. They weren't the ocean's tyrants. They were its snipers, carving out a role no other predator could match. How did such a fragile body plan survive? Long necks seem like a liability in seas patrolled by Liopleurodon, yet plesiosaurs thrived for over 100 million years, outlasting ichthyosaurs. Their secret was adaptability. Fossils from England's blue lias show juveniles in shallow waters safe from deep-sea predators, according to a 2019 geology study. Adults ventured deeper, using reefs as cover, per Moroccan fossils. Their small size, most under 20 feet, made them less tempting targets than larger prey, according to Dr. Mark Young's research. They also had defenses. Plesiosaurus fossils show thick skin and possible fatty layers, cushioning attacks per Germany's Holzmaden shale. Their maneuverability let them dodge, per a 2020 current biology study. Social behavior might have helped. Fossils from New Zealand's Maastrichtian beds, though later show plesiosaurs in groups, hinting at herds for protection, per Dr. R. Ewan Fordyce at the University of Otago. In the Jurassic, they likely stuck to prey-rich, predator-poor zones like coastal lagoons, per Portugal's Lourinhã fossils. The ocean itself aided them. Warm, nutrient-rich waters supported endless prey, per a 2021 geology study. Volcanic activity from Pangaea's breakup enriched seas, fueling food webs, per Dr. Pamela Gill at the University of Bristol. Plesiosaurs didn't need to fight pliosaurs, they just needed to outsmart them, slipping through the cracks of a monster-filled world. Picture, if you will, a Jurassic reef, sunlight filtering through turquoise water illuminating a swarm of fish darting among corals. A Cryptoclidus glides in, its long neck swaying like a serpent, and snaps up a belemnite with pinpoint accuracy. Nearby, a juvenile plesiosaurus weaves through a lagoon dodging the shadow of a pliosaur. These weren't the ocean's bullies, they were its dancers moving with a grace that honestly belied their deadly intent. Their world was one of precision, where every strike counted and survival meant, well, staying one step ahead of the giants. Long-necked plesiosaurs turned a risky body plan into a winning strategy, thriving as surgical feeders in a sea of monsters. Their necks, whether flexible or stiff, made them unique but also vulnerable. So how did such a fragile design hold its own against the Jurassic's deadliest predators? As we leave the plesiosaur's shimmering seas, just think about Cryptoclidus, its neck weaving through a school of fish, striking with, lethal precision. These sea serpents survived in oceans ruled by pliosaurs and ichthyosaurs, somehow defying their fragile form. How did such a delicate body plan endure in a world filled with monsters? Was it their agility, their smarts, or maybe something else? The answer might, reveal the next chapter in the Jurassic's deadly. Hey there, Dino fans, buckle up because we're diving into the deep end of the Cretaceous oceans where the baddest, meanest sea monsters of all time ruled the waves. By the end of the age of dinosaurs, a new terror had arrived. And guess what? It ate sharks for breakfast. We're talking about mosasaurs, giant marine lizards that turned the seas into their personal buffet. These weren't your average reptiles. They were the kings of the ocean, and their story is packed with jaw-dropping facts, gruesome meals, and some serious evolutionary swagger. So let's jump in and meet these underwater titans. But fair warning, you might not want to go swimming after this. So, what exactly were mosasaurs? First off, they weren't true dinosaurs, even though they lived at the same time as T-Rex and Triceratops. Mosasaurs were marine reptiles, specifically giant lizards that adapted to life in the ocean. Think of them as the distant cousins of today's monitor lizards, like the Komodo dragon, or even snakes. Yeah, snakes. Scientists have found that mosasaurs share a close evolutionary link with these modern reptiles, which makes sense when you look at their sleek bodies and crazy jaw mechanics. These guys appeared during the late Cretaceous, about 90 million years ago, and they stuck around until that infamous asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. In that time, they went from being small, scrappy swimmers to the top dogs, or top lizards, of the sea. Let's talk size because mosasaurs were massive. The biggest of the bunch, like Mosasaurus itself, could stretch over 50 feet long. That's longer than a school bus. Some estimates even push certain species like Mosasaurus hoffmanni closer to 60 feet. To put that in perspective, a great white shark today maxes out at about 20 feet. But the real MVP was their tail. Unlike dinosaurs like Spinosaurus, which we talked about earlier, mosasaurs had a thick, muscular tail that moved side to side, giving them incredible speed and agility. Imagine a giant crocodile tail but way bigger and way faster. These guys could chase down anything in the ocean. Now let's get to the good stuff. What did mosasaurs eat? Spoiler alert, pretty much everything. Fossils tell us these sea monsters were the ultimate apex predators. Paleontologists have found mosasaur stomachs packed with the remains of turtles, fish, ammonites, and even other marine reptiles like plesiosaurs. One fossil from South Dakota showed a mosasaurus with the bones of a 20-foot-long plesiosaur in its gut. That's like swallowing a pickup truck. And it gets wilder. Some mosasaur fossils have bite marks and partially digested bones of other mosasaurs. Yup, these guys were cannibals. If you were a smaller mosasaur, you better hope you didn't run into your bigger cousin. Even sharks weren't safe. A famous fossil from Kansas showed a mosasaur with the remains of a 6-foot shark in its belly. So when we say mosasaurs ate sharks for breakfast, we're not kidding. How did they pull off these epic feasts? Let's dive into a cool science fact. Mosasaurs had jaws that worked like something out of a horror movie. Their mouths were equipped with double-hinged jaws, just like modern snakes. This meant they could open their mouths super wide to swallow huge prey. But that's not all. Their teeth were another game-changer. Mosasaurs had sharp, conical teeth that pointed backward, making it impossible for prey to escape once it was caught. Imagine trying to slip out of a trap where every move pulls you deeper in. That's what it was like for anything unlucky enough to get grabbed by a mosasaur. And here's a creepy bonus. They had a second set of teeth in the roof of their mouth called pterygoid teeth. These extra teeth helped them grip and pull prey down their throats. So yeah, once a mosasaur got you, it was game over. But mosasaurs weren't just about brute force. They were smart hunters too. Their skulls show they had large brain cavities, suggesting they were pretty clever for reptiles. They likely used their keen sense of smell to track prey in the murky ocean depths. Scientists think mosasaurs could pick up blood in the water from miles away, much like sharks do today. And their eyes? Big and well-suited for seeing in low-light conditions, perfect for hunting in the deep sea. Picture this, a mosasaur cruising through the dark, its eyes glinting, sniffing out a wounded plesiosaur. It's the stuff of nightmares. Where did these sea monsters live? Pretty much everywhere. Mosasaur fossils have been found all over the world, from North America to Europe, Africa, Asia, and even Antarctica. In the United States, some of the best mosasaur fossils come from the Western Interior Seaway, a massive ocean that split North America in half during the Cretaceous. States like Kansas, Texas, and South Dakota have turned up incredible specimens. One famous find, a 40-foot Mosasaurus skeleton nicknamed Bunker, was discovered in Kansas and is now on display at the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. These fossils show us that mosasaurs thrived in warm, shallow seas, but they were adaptable enough to hunt in deeper waters too. No corner of the ocean was safe from these guys. Let's take a quick detour to talk about how mosasaurs evolved. They didn't just pop up as 50-foot monsters. Their ancestors were small, land-dwelling lizards that took to the water about 100 million years ago. Over millions of years they evolved longer bodies, stronger tails, and flipper-like limbs. This transition from land to sea is one of the coolest stories in evolution. Early mosasaurs, like Dilophosaurus, were only about 3 feet long and still had legs they could use on land. But by the late Cretaceous, their descendants, like Mosasaurus and Pliosaurus, were fully aquatic and had become the ocean's top predators. It's like watching a tiny lizard turn into a sea dragon over millions of years. How's that for a glow-up? Now, here's something to blow your mind. Mosasaurs gave birth to live young. Unlike many reptiles that lay eggs, mosasaurs were viviparous, meaning their babies were born ready to swim. Fossils from Kansas and Morocco have shown mosasaur moms with tiny mosasaur skeletons inside them. These baby mosasaurs were about 6 feet long at birth, already bigger than most modern sharks. Imagine a 50-foot mom giving birth to a half-dozen mini monsters all ready to start hunting. It's no wonder mosasaurs took over the ocean so fast. Still watching? You're braver than most. Subscribe now if you're ready to dive deeper, because these oceans are far from safe. So why were mosasaurs so successful? Part of it was their versatility. They could hunt in different environments, from shallow coasts to deep oceans. They also had a varied diet, which meant they could survive even when certain prey disappeared. But their real secret weapon was their adaptability. Mosasaurs evolved quickly, with different species filling different roles in the ocean. For example, Tylosaurus was a long, slender mosasaur built for speed, perfect for chasing fast prey like fish. Prognathodon, on the other hand, had a stocky build and massive jaws for crushing bones. Think of it as the tank of the mosasaur world. This diversity let them dominate every corner of the Cretaceous seas. So, why were mosasaurs so successful? Part of it was their versatility. They could hunt in different environments, from shallow coasts to deep oceans. They also had a varied diet, which meant they could survive even when certain prey disappeared. But their real secret weapon was their adaptability. Mosasaurs evolved quickly, with different species filling different roles in the ocean. For example, Tylosaurus was a long, slender mosasaur built for speed, perfect for chasing fast prey like fish. Prognathodon, on the other hand, had a stocky build and massive jaws for crushing bones. Think of it as the tank of the mosasaur world. This diversity let them dominate every corner of the Cretaceous seas. But here's the million-dollar question. What if the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs never hit Earth? Could mosasaurs have kept ruling the seas for millions of more years? It's tempting to think they'd still be out there, terrorizing the oceans like some kind of prehistoric Jaws. They were at the top of their game when the asteroid struck, with no real competitors. Some scientists think mosasaurs could have evolved to become even bigger or smarter, maybe even taking on new forms we can't imagine. But there's a catch. The world was already changing before the asteroid hit. The oceans were cooling, and new predators like early whales and sharks were starting to show up. Would mosasaurs have outlasted them, or would something else have taken their crown? We'll let you chew on that one for now. Mosasaurs may be gone, but their story still grabs us. From their snake-like jaws to their shark-munching habits, these sea monsters were the ultimate ocean predators. They show us just how wild and unpredictable the Cretaceous world was, and who knows, maybe deep down, we're all a little glad we don't have to share the beach with a 50-foot lizard. But their fossils keep turning up new clues about their lives, and each discovery makes us wonder what else is out there, waiting to be found. That's it for Chapter 5, folks. Stick around for the next chapter, where we'll dive into another jaw-dropping sea monster from the age of dinosaurs. Trust us, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, let us know in the comments. Do you think mosasaurs could have ruled the seas forever, or was their time up? Hit that like button if you're ready for more prehistoric action, and we'll see you back here soon. Hey, Dino fans! We've swam through some wild waters in this series, meeting the most ferocious sea monsters of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, like plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, and those shark-eating mosasaurs we just talked about. But now, it's time to face the end of their story. Picture this: the land shook, the skies darkened, and the oceans died last. About 66 million years ago, something catastrophic happened that changed the world forever. It wasn't just the dinosaurs on land that vanished. It was the giants of the deep, too. In this final chapter, we're diving into the apocalyptic event that wiped out the sea monsters and reshaped life on Earth. Buckle up, because this is a story of fire, waves, and a world turned upside down, and trust me, it's gonna leave you wondering what could have been. Let's set the stage. It's the end of the Cretaceous period, about 66 million years ago. The oceans are teeming with life. Mosasaurs are chomping on anything that moves, plesiosaurs are cruising with their long necks, and schools of fish dart through warm, shallow seas. On land, T-Rex is stomping around and Triceratops is munching on plants. It's a thriving world, one that's been ruling for over 150 million years. But then, in a single moment, everything changes. A massive asteroid, about 6 to 9 miles wide, slams into Earth at a place we now call the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. This is the Chicxulub impact, and it's one of the most devastating events in our planet's history. To put it in perspective, this asteroid hit with the force of 10 billion Hiroshima bombs. Yeah, billion. The destruction it unleashed was unlike anything we can imagine. So, what happened when this asteroid hit? Let's break it down. The impact was so powerful it carved out a crater over 90 miles wide and 12 miles deep. That's big enough to swallow entire cities. The energy released sent shockwaves across the planet. On land, earthquakes rattled the ground, triggering landslides and volcanic eruptions. But the oceans? They took a beating too. Scientists estimate the impact caused massive tsunamis, some as high as 1,000 feet tall. Imagine a wall of water taller than the Empire State Building crashing over coastlines. Fossils from places like North Dakota show fish and marine reptiles tossed onto land by these monster waves, buried in sediment alongside bits of glass from the impact. These glass beads, called tektites, formed when molten rock from the crater was blasted into the atmosphere and rained back down. It's a snapshot of pure chaos. But the tsunamis were just the beginning. The asteroid kicked up so much dust, soot, and debris that it blocked out the sun. We're talking about a global darkness that lasted for months, maybe even years. This is what scientists call an impact winter. Temperatures plummeted, and the world turned cold and dark. Plants on land couldn't photosynthesize without sunlight, and that spelled disaster for the food chain. But the oceans? They were hit even harder in some ways. The base of the ocean food web, plankton, took a massive hit. Plankton are tiny organisms that float in the water and feed everything from small fish to giant whales. When the skies darkened, most plankton couldn't survive without sunlight. Studies from the Smithsonian and the University of California show that up to 90% of plankton species went extinct after the impact. No plankton, no food, no sea monsters. Now let's talk about what happened to those incredible marine reptiles we've been geeking out over. Mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, they were the kings and queens of the Cretaceous seas, but they didn't stand a chance. Without plankton, the small fish and ammonites they ate started to disappear. The food chain collapsed like a house of cards. Imagine a mosasaur, 50 feet long, swimming through an empty ocean with nothing to eat. Fossils from the western interior seaway, which once covered places like Kansas and Texas, show mass die-offs of marine life. One site in New Jersey revealed a layer of sediment packed with dead fish, turtles, and mosasaurs, all buried together right after the impact. It's like a graveyard frozen in time, a moment when the oceans went still. But it wasn't just starvation that got them. The asteroid impact made the oceans a toxic mess. When the asteroid hit, it vaporized rocks rich in sulfur, sending clouds of sulfuric acid into the atmosphere. This led to acid rain that poured into the seas, making the water more acidic. For creatures like ammonites, which had delicate shells, this was a death sentence. Their shells dissolved in the acidic water, and they vanished almost overnight. Even hardier creatures like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs couldn't escape the changes. Their prey was gone, the water was turning hostile, and the cold temperatures from the impact winter made it harder to survive. Unlike some small mammals and birds that could hide or adapt, these giant reptiles needed massive amounts of food and warm waters to thrive. They were out of luck. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about why this extinction event was such a big deal. The Chicxulub impact didn't just kill the sea monsters, it wiped out about 75% of all species on Earth. On land, non-avian dinosaurs like T-Rex and Triceratops went extinct. In the oceans, it was the same story for marine reptiles. But here's something wild. Not everything died. Some creatures like sharks, crocodiles, and certain fish managed to pull through. Why? Scientists think it's because they were more adaptable. Sharks could eat almost anything, from dead animals to tiny scraps. Crocodiles could survive in rivers and estuaries where food was still available. But mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, they were too specialized, too dependent on a stable ocean ecosystem. When that ecosystem collapsed, they had nowhere to go. Now let's get into some of the science behind how we know all this. Paleontologists have pieced together this story from some incredible evidence. One of the biggest clues is the KPG boundary, a thin layer of rock found all over the world that marks the moment of the asteroid impact. This layer, named for the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, is packed with iridium, a rare metal that's common in asteroids but not on Earth. Scientists first found this layer in Italy in the 1980s, and since then, it's been uncovered everywhere from Montana to Morocco. The KPG boundary is like a line in the sand. Below it, you find mosasaur and plesiosaur fossils. Above it, nothing. It's proof that these sea monsters disappeared in a geological blink. Another clue comes from the fossils themselves. In places like the Hell Creek Formation in Montana, scientists have found deathbeds of marine and terrestrial creatures mixed together. These sites show fish, turtles, and even dinosaur bones buried in the same layer as impact debris. One famous find, called the Tanis site, revealed a snapshot of the day the asteroid hit. Fish fossils there have tiny glass beads stuck in their gills, evidence of the debris that rained down right after the impact. It's like a crime scene preserved for 66 million years, and it tells us the oceans were hit just as hard as the land. But here's where it gets really interesting. The oceans didn't die all at once. While the land was burning and shaking, the seas took longer to feel the full impact. Some scientists think certain marine reptiles might have survived for a few years after the asteroid hit, scraping by in pockets of the ocean where food was still available. Deep-sea creatures, like some sharks and jellyfish, were more likely to make it because they didn't rely on sunlight or plankton. But for the big players like mosasaurs, their days were numbered. The oceans, once so full of life, became eerily quiet. No more giant tails slicing through the water, no more massive jaws snapping up prey, just stillness. Let's talk about what came next. After the dust settled, literally, the world started to recover, but it looked very different. The ocean slowly came back to life, but the age of marine reptiles was over. New players started to take over. Early whales like Basilosaurus began to evolve about 10 million years later, filling the gap left by mosasaurs. Sharks got bigger and meaner, with species like Megalodon showing up millions of years later. Even some modern animals like sea turtles and crocodiles trace their roots back to survivors of this extinction. But the seas would never again see anything quite like the giant reptiles of the Cretaceous. Their time was done. Now here's something to think about. The Chicxulub impact was a reset button for life on Earth. It cleared the stage for mammals, including us, to take over. Without that asteroid, the world might still belong to dinosaurs and sea monsters. Imagine a modern ocean where 50-foot mosasaurs are patrolling the coasts instead of sharks or whales. What would that world look like? It's a question scientists love to debate. Some think marine reptiles could have evolved into even stranger forms. Maybe smarter, maybe bigger. Others say new predators like early whales might have challenged them anyway. But one thing's for sure, the asteroid changed everything. And the oceans we know today, full of dolphins, sharks, and coral reefs, owe their existence to that one catastrophic moment. Share this video if you've ever wondered what else could be hiding in our oceans today. Because even though the sea monsters are gone, their story is far from over. So, what's the big takeaway? The death of the sea monsters wasn't just the end of a chapter, it was the end of an era. The Chicxulub asteroid turned a thriving world upside down, wiping out the giants of the deep and giving new life a chance to rise. But their fossils, buried in places like Kansas, Morocco, and New Jersey, keep their story alive. Every new discovery pulls us back to that ancient ocean, where monsters ruled and the waves hid secrets we're still uncovering. And that brings us to the big question. What might have evolved if life in the oceans hadn't been reset? Could mosasaurs have become even more terrifying, or would something else have taken their place? Let that sink in as we wrap up this journey. Thanks for diving into the deep end with us, folks. If you loved learning about these prehistoric sea monsters, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you think the oceans would look like if that asteroid never hit. And don't forget to subscribe for more epic adventures into the past. The age of sea monsters may be over, but there's so much more to discover. See you next time.